Cold weather today feels tough. But the truth is, our grandparents survived winters that would make most of us tap out in the first hour. They lived through brutal cold, rationing and blackouts, especially during eras like World War II. Yet they stayed warm with tricks so clever, so efficient, that modern homes and gadgets almost look lazy. And here's the twist. Many of those old-school heating secrets actually outperform today's expensive tech when things get rough. Let's dive in, because these warming tactics weren't just practical. They were born from grit, scarcity, and pure survival instinct. And trust me, once you hear them, you'll never look at winter or your own comfort the same way again. The home became a heat trap. Grandparents treated heat like treasure. They didn't waste it. They didn't let it drift off. They captured it, amplified it, and recycled it. One of the simplest but most powerful methods was turning just one room into the warm zone. Families would shut every door, cover every crack, and draw thick curtains to build a mini climate bubble. It wasn't about heating the entire house. It was about protecting the heat you already had. During those colder nights, they hung blankets over doors and, well, sometimes even nailed fabric scraps around window frames. This wasn't pretty, but it was strategic. You see, cold air sneaks in through gaps, and warm air escapes upward. So, blocking drafts wasn't optional, it was survival. Imagine an entire family gathering in one tightly sealed room, relying on body heat, a small fire, and layered insulation made from whatever they had. It worked, and honestly, it worked shockingly well. Clothing, became a heating system. Today, we chase warmth with thermostats. But back then, warmth came from the body outward. Grandparents layered clothes like they were building armour. Wool on the inside for insulation, cotton on top to trap air, and outer layers to block wind. And yes, socks. Lots of socks. Wool socks, mismatched socks, even socks worn on the hands if gloves weren't available. People slept wearing clothes, hats, scarves, sometimes even coats, because heat lost from the head is heat you don't get back. And in those freezing winters, every drop of heat mattered. The trick wasn't just layering, it was trapping warm air between layers. Air pockets became insulation. A thin cotton shirt under a wool sweater created a micro-heat chamber. This was science, even when they didn't call it science. The bed was a winter fortress. Beds weren't just where you slept, they were where you survived the coldest hours. Grandparents transformed their beds into personal heat factories. They stuffed fabric, newspapers, wool scraps, even old clothing between the mattress and blankets to build insulation. Then came the famous hot bed. Before sleeping, they heated bricks or stones by the fire, wrapped them in cloth, and slid them under the sheets. Those stones stayed warm for hours. The bed didn't just feel warm. It radiated heat like a mini furnace. And yes, multiple people slept in one bed. Not because it was cute, but because it kept everyone alive. Body heat shared is, well, heat multiplied. Staying warm wasn't a single task effort. Everything had to work overtime. The kitchen was usually the warmest room, since the stove was constantly in use. Families cooked meals slowly, not just for flavour, but because those long cooking times meant more heat radiating into the room. During World War II, fuel shortages made this even more crucial. People learned to make one fire serve many purposes: cooking, heating water, warming the room, drying clothes, and, even heating stones for beds. Nothing was wasted. After cooking, they kept the oven door open to release every last bit of heat. Today we might see that as inefficient, but back then it was honestly brilliant. Windows were the enemy, so they fought back. Grandparents didn't trust windows, and well, for good reason. Windows leak heat like crazy. They covered them with thick curtains during the night to block cold air and exposure. Some even glued clear paper or fabric across the glass to create a double-layer barrier. It wasn't glass insulation, but it worked almost the same way. A simple trick they used was placing furniture near windows, not for style, but as a buffer. The thicker the barrier between you and the cold, the warmer you stayed. And here's the clever part they knew instinctively. Sunlight is free heat. On bright days they opened curtains to let sun rays pour in, warming the room naturally. When the sun dipped, those curtains slammed shut again to trap every bit of warmth inside. Fire was, treated like a living creature. A fire wasn't just a flame, it was really the heart of the home. Everyone in their own way contributed to maintaining it. Wood was gathered, rationed, and burned in careful amounts. And during World War II fuel shortages, even coal was sometimes replaced with dried vegetation, scrap wood, or, homemade briquettes made from compressed paper. Grandparents, they built fires in ways that maximized heat retention. A small, steady flame was better than a giant blaze, because honestly, big fires eat fuel and lose heat fast. They added stones around the fire, letting them absorb the heat and release it slowly throughout the night. People today rarely think about fire efficiency, but back then entire families lived around it. One of the old tricks that's almost forgotten today: heated water containers. Before there were modern hot water bottles, they used metal or glass bottles filled with hot water, wrapped in cloth. They tucked them under coats, placed them by their feet, or kept them on their laps. Sometimes they used large buckets or pots of hot water placed around a room to radiate heat. Water retains warmth longer than air, and grandparents took full advantage of that physics without ever cracking open a textbook. The floor was never ignored. Cold floors steal heat fast. Grandparents knew this instinctively, so they layered rugs, carpets, sacks, or even straw across the floor to keep cold from creeping up. In many homes, rugs weren't decoration. They were survival gear. During the harshest winters, some placed warm bricks under the table where everyone gathered. Their feet stayed warm, and the heat rose naturally, warming their bodies. When all else failed, they used the most reliable heater of all, their bodies. They kept moving: light chores, hand-rubbing, small exercises, stirring soups, washing dishes, really anything to keep circulation active. Standing still meant getting cold. Movement meant warming up. It's simple, but incredibly effective. Grandparents didn't fear winter. They prepared for it, anticipated it, respected it. they understood one truth many of us forget today. Staying warm is a mindset. It's strategy. It's constant thinking. Heat isn't something you wait for. It's something you create and protect. Their goal wasn't comfort, it was survival. Their methods weren't fancy. They were effective. And they worked because they were born from hardship. These tricks kept them alive in some of the harshest conditions of the 20th century. And here's the lesson for all of us today. Comfort might evolve, but survival wisdom never expires. If you found value in these forgotten heating secrets, make sure you subscribe to Legacy of Survival and share this video with someone who needs it. Your support helps keep this channel thriving and keeps these powerful lessons alive.